Hey guys, Chris Lynton here from Tribefit, and today we've got an absolute legend with us, a legend by the name of Daniel Henderson. Daniel, how are you doing, buddy?
Mate, absolutely sensational, Chris. Thank you very, very much for your time today.
No problems, right back at you. And guys, Daniel put his hand up for today's interview. I reached out to him because I thought it might be great to speak with someone that has a phenomenal background, knowledge, time in the space as well, and in a bit of a multi-faceted format in the fitness business, and a lot of gold nuggets and a lot to learn from him that will be able to help you move forward in your face-to-face business, if you own a gym, location, studio, or also anything else from an educational perspective as well. But Daniel, before I try and explain your full life story, buddy, if you can just give us a bit of a run through of who you are, what you do, and I guess where you've come from and where you are today.
Yeah, beautiful, Chris. Thanks, mate. So been in the fitness industry now full-time for about 12 years. Absolutely love it. I've done many different roles. And so I owned a facility in Sydney's beautiful Eastern Beaches for 9 years, which was amazing, and had an incredible team there. I sold that in April last year very successfully. And that was to embark on another challenge, which is building, the world's best coaching program for fitness professionals. But rewind a little bit, I wrote up Australia's first ever accredited kettlebell course in 2008. Yeah, so back in, it's hard to believe for people, but going back 10 years, no one was using kettlebells. They were a foreign tool. I just liked using it. I learned from some world champions, some amazing people, just wrote it up as a hobby. Didn't know that it was going to propel me down this path. It was just running some little workshops around Sydney, then started getting calls to run them in other places. And before you know it, I was an educator. And that's been a lot of fun. It's been a ticket. Like from that, I love being an educator. I saw massive gaps in the fitness industry in terms of depth of knowledge, in terms of tools, in terms of systems that people needed. So developed a whole number of other courses around mobility, movement restoration, barbells, battling ropes, bags, you name it. So I've got a whole suite of courses. We deliver in 16 countries right now, online and face-to-face. And I've had the great pleasure of standing on stages all around the world. So that's been a real buzz. It's been very humbling. And that company is called the Functional Training Institute. So I co-founded that. That's where I'm spending most of my time. And then in the last real 12 to 18 months, we've had it 3 years, but the last 12 to 18 months, been spending a lot of time in our business accelerator program called Game Changer. So really helping fitness professionals establish a great face-to-face business, and helping them with their. We have three main pillars: attract, layers, and systems, and really having that dialed in so they can have more impact, more profit, and more freedom. So, mate, that's my background in a nutshell.
Beautiful, mate. Well, what we'll do is we can break down today's call into kind of two sections, because there are obviously they do complement each other quite well, but both are such strong pillars in their own. There's probably loads of learnings to take from both of them. So to break it down into two pillars, one obviously being the Functional Training Institute, and obviously you're coaching for fitness professionals in regards to business perspective. So if we jump onto FTI to start with, to throw the acronym out there, if we start with that, mate. So if a trainer's out there and they're wanting to improve their knowledge base, what is a good reason to do it, and B, what is kind of the first stages and first steps that someone should move towards increasing their knowledge around to improve their business?
Yeah, look, I've had the great pleasure of being in front of probably about 5,000 different fitness professionals over the last 9 years teaching. And if I could break it down, if I could distill all of my learnings and observations in terms of what makes a successful coach stand out, and from an unsuccessful one, it would be a growth mindset, a constant thirst and endeavor to learn and grow. So, all fitness professionals should have a professional development plan that should be on, the technical skills, the coaching skills, the communication, as well as the business skills. And the space that we founded, you know, it was in its infancy. It's now been, you know, it's now very well developed. It's the functional training space.
Yeah.
And so we were really in front of, we weren't, you know, we were in front of it, really ahead of the curve at that time. And so where we help coaches, I'll always, you know, even now I jump on sales calls because I love doing it. And what I'll find out is just like, who do they actually want to serve and what kind of impact do they want to have? Once I can find that, then I can tailor a recommendation on what they need to do from an education perspective, so they are equipped with the knowledge, the resources, the skills to actually do that. And so, you know, we have a wide variety, a gamut of courses, but really I'll just find out, you know, who do you coach? Why do you coach them? Where do you feel like you need more assistance right now? And then I can make an appropriate recommendation. But if I was to say, you know, if I was to give it a universal kind of great place to start, then it's definitely in the movement, restoration and mobility, because not everyone needs a kettlebell. Not everyone needs a barbell. Not everyone needs to learn, you know, sprint training and all these other things, but everyone needs to learn how to move better. Everyone presents some kind of dysfunction. Everyone's got an asymmetry. Everyone's got some kind of, you know, some kind of postural imbalance. And if we just throw that person in and, you know, give them a session, then all we do is load and compound that dysfunction. And so, you know, it's really our job as a coach to provide an environment where we restore function and movement. And so that's where I say for a lot of coaches is, look, that one I can almost give a universal recommendation. And that's a great place to start, because every one of your clients, whether they're athletic population, they're teenagers, they're seniors, they're sedentary, they're well conditioned, they all need to learn how to move better. And it's our job to do that, so they can, you know, exercise should be something that really builds us up. We don't want to end up having injuries or pain or anything else as a result of that. So that's my kind of universal recommendation, but it also depends on the person's journey. Like, we rate our education. We know, like, we're constantly iterating, refining, developing it. I have some of the best education consultants in all of the, you know, in all the world really contributing to our education. But at the same time, I know that's not appropriate for everyone, because everyone has their different path and different gaps of knowledge as well.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Well, just a very timely conversation. I watched the Ronnie Coleman documentary on Netflix the other day. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard it's magnificent though.
Phenomenal doco, but the guy's body is just broken. And I was speaking to my business partner yesterday, and he said you can look at YouTube videos. His recent surgery didn't work. His back didn't fuse, and now he's in a wheelchair, getting lifted onto the bench to try and do a workout of his own. So it's guys, you know, as you said, functional training is the norm these days, I would say, and you guys definitely got onto that wave before probably the wave even started, or very, very early. So awesome work on that, and very much so I would agree with you, is that you are training people to be healthy and be, you know, elongate their ability to move and do it in a healthy format. So if you aren't knowledgeable around that, it's probably a good spot to start, mate. Cool. All right. So massive tick on that. In terms of the business coaching side of things, so if we jump over to that side, so who do you commonly work with, and what do you see are, I guess, the common traps or mistakes that people come to you with?
Yeah. Okay. So I really help people if they have facilities, and generally smaller facilities, or people with an aspiration to own their own facility as well. People within commercial gyms, they're kind of the two main categories that we work with. Yep. In terms of, look, a lot of the time, there's a lot of things they need to work on, but the overarching thing, and I always look for the smallest hinges that can swing the biggest doors. Nice. And so the biggest, and what I find a lot of the time is that is actually their business model. You know, a lot of the time their business model is broken. A lot of the time their pricing and their memberships is broken. And so we need to start there, because that's the foundation that we can build everything on. See, they think they need leads. A lot of the time, yes, they do need leads, but first we've got to get your house in order. We've got to go, okay, well, what are your layers of business? Are you just trading time for money, which a lot of them are? How can we get out of that model and going from transaction to transaction, and actually create a business that has some consistency, that has some profitability, but also has some leverage to grow. So a lot of people, it's not through lack of work. They're working their rings off. They're delivering 40, 50 sessions a week, but they're not doing it in the smartest way that they can possibly do it.
Yeah, no, very, very smart, mate. And I always say, wrong model, wrong outcome. You can't outwork a bad business model. You can smash a couple more coffees in you, get up earlier, sleep later, but you're going to end up with the wrong outcome no matter what, unless you evolve and change and improve your business model. So I hear you there and totally agree with you there. So in terms of, I guess, let's just say, for example, a face-to-face person, or either looking to start their own gym or has their own gym, studio, whatever it might be, is listening to this right now and going, look, Daniel, everything you're saying sounds spot on, and I'm feeling you there. So in regards to their business model, what would you first suggest to them to be able to, I guess, recognize the issues, identify the issues, and then potentially start looking at ways to solving those problems?
Yeah, so I'd look at a lot of business models out there is they're not very well systemized, and so it means that people are really chained to their business and they're really a slave to their business itself. So we just took on a client recently. She's got almost 100 members, but she doesn't have things like a CRM in place. She doesn't have great contracts in place. Doesn't have direct debit in place. Doesn't have systemized price increases. Doesn't have, membership options that are going to increase profitability. Doesn't have a great front end offer. So having really clear, concise systems in place, so that can actually free you up somewhat to then do work on the business itself,
yeah,
and do the things like the lead generation, the sales, the recruitment of team, and everything else. But first, you got to get that humming, because when they calculate it, people go, oh, well, I'm making X amount of dollars. I'm like, well, how many hours are you working? I want you to record. I want you to do a time audit for me, record absolutely everything you're doing. And you can see that it's a very, it's not a good yield per unit of time, the way they're working. And so we just look at some of those fundamental things in place. Like, do you have a really good agreement in place? Do you have a good customer management system in place? Do you have people on memberships that with reoccurring revenue? Are we making sure that, there's room to grow? If you've just got a one-on-one business, then what are you going to do are you going to add nutrition coaching to that? Can we supplement that with some semi-private training as well? So how can we actually increase the profitability and the lifetime client value? And they're the big things that we look at.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Spot on. If you don't have the simple stuff like even just direct debits, automated direct debits in place, and you're chasing people left, right, and center every week for what they owe you or whatever it might be, it's just wasted time and inefficiencies, which you could be using those time and energy elsewhere. So whether that's, and we talk to people all the time, whether that's in your business, making your business better, or whether that's with your family and loved ones, wouldn't you prefer to be
that's right.
spending the time doing what you love, whatever that might be, rather than chasing people around on admin that could be automated. So absolutely spot on, man. Cool. All right. Well, in order to, I guess, in terms to wrap things up, mate, once again, there's the two buckets there. If anyone's listening to it today, they're a face-to-face trainer, online trainer, they've got a gym, they've got whatever it might be. First and foremost, what would be your simple one-liner sort of advice for someone that's, I guess, lacking or feels as though they're lacking in the educational side of things, and then also your one-liner of advice for someone who is has a business but is kind of at a cap and exhausted and trying to find a way through? What would that be, buddy?
Yeah, look, I think it's on both sides, and I'd just say find a mentor, find a coach, find a model that works, and just absolutely inhale their content, their experiences, and because they've already walked the path that you intend to walk on or want to walk on, and so that can really expedite the process for you. Too many people think they can figure it out on their own, that, hey, I'll just learn it on my own. I'll work this out. It's the most inefficient way of doing things. It really is. There are amazing people out there that have just a lifetime of knowledge that you can get from listening to an interview, reading a book, having a phone conversation. So go and seek those people out, because it will just expedite that learning process, and you will knock years off to get to the destination where you want to get to. So find those people. They're all around. They're only too willing to help. And you'll elevate yourself as a coach. You'll elevate yourself as a business owner. Then you've got more freedom, more impact to do what you want, when you want, and how you want.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Very, very wise words there, Daniel. Mate, if anyone is listening to this, they're loving what you're saying, they're connecting with it, and they're wanting to find out more about yourself, buddy, where would they go to check out about you, about the functional training side, whatever it might be?
Yeah, just hit us up. I'm on two social channels. So Facebook is under Daniel Henderson. There's a few of us, but yeah, find us on Facebook or on Instagram, the Coach of Coaches. Reach out. Like if I can give you any advice, I'm more than happy to. I'm always really generous with my time. I'm happy to jump on the phone if someone's got a problem or a challenge or whatever else. So please do so. This industry has been amazing to me. I've had many great mentors that have been really generous with their time, and I want to give back as well. So yeah, please reach out, and I'd love to connect.
Beautiful, mate. There we have it, guys. Reach out to Daniel. Absolute wealth of knowledge, even if it's just to pick his brain, and no doubt he'll send you at least in the right direction. If not, be able to help you one-on-one with any of your issues as well. So, guys, that's it from us today. Daniel, thanks for your time, mate. Really appreciate it. Hit Daniel up.
Absolute pleasure.
That's how to do it, mate. We'll catch up, no doubt, face-to-face sooner or later. We're both in Sydney, guys, so look out for that. But that's it from us. Daniel, thanks again for your time, and bye for now.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks, Chris.